Most introductions to basketball start in the streets, with nets installed in the driveways, backyards, or neighborhood parks. Played mostly on concrete, the game is just waiting to be explored. Who can resist throwing a basketball for the first time just to see whether or not the ball will fall into the net? There are even countless variations of an actual basketball game. Some make use of the same skills, some make use of the same equipment, some make use of the same rules, and at times it may or may not have a competitive aspect involved. But in the NBA, rules change, equipment changes, but one thing remains the same: the hardwood. And I think this is a problem. Hi, my name is Rotimi. I love basketball, I love to talk basketball, and I hope one day you can share that same love for basketball as I. Okay, I get it. You are thinking, what's the big deal? For you, the significance of the hardwood never changing means nothing. But for you to understand why it remaining the same is important, we have to look at the life of a basketball. Yes, the evolution of the basketball. The official basketball has undergone many changes in the last 130 years. First, it lost 2 inches in its circumference from 1891 to 1949. Then they changed the color in the 60s to blue, red, and white. In the 1970s, it went from having 4 panels to 8 panels. In 1983, they adapted to using Spalding's full-grain leather. But in the 1990s, they moved away from the traditional basketball leather to the new leather synthetics. In 2001, they built a ball with a built-in pump. In 2006, they changed the ball material again to a new synthetic that only lasted 3 months. As of 2021, they moved away from the traditional Spalding brand to the Wilson brand. Now, in 2023, there are talks of a 3D printed airless basketball. And in all that time, the hardwood never changed. Okay, let's understand one of the main motivations behind the basketball evolution. It's the players. In the 60s, George Mikan jokingly mentioned that the ball should be American colors to make it more distinctive for players to see. So they changed it. Then the players wanted to further adjust the color. And that's where we have the electric orange. The ball went from having 4 panels to 8 panels just to make it easier for a player to palm the ball in one hand. Most notably, in 2006, they changed to a new synthetic, right? And it was ripping players' fingers apart. So the NBA reverted to the old synthetic leather. And it wasn't just the basketball that changed because of the players. We also saw this with the backboard. In the late 80s to early 90s, Shaquille O'Neal entered the NBA. Shaquille would dunk with so much force that he would shatter the backboard. This led to the introduction of the breakaway rim, which prevented the shattering of the backboard to protect the players. More recently, we have seen changes in the flagrant foul. The shooter's landing area has never been protected, and defenders would close out aggressively, which meant that the shooter would land on the foot of the defender, most time getting injured. This was because the defender wanted to send a message. Here we have the famous Zaza Pachulia closeout on Kawhi Leonard. This led to an injury-riddled career. After this event and the impact it had on Kawhi Leonard, the NBA made this type of play a flagrant 1 foul. This would lead to a free throw, and it would also bring that player closer to ejection. Now you can see that all of these changes were a big deal because they helped protect the players and mold the game that we have today. The hardwood has never changed though, and I think it's time to change it to protect the players once again. We have to understand how old the hardwood is for us to understand why it needs to be changed. In 1891, Dr. James Naismith hung 2 peach baskets on a balcony, set up 2 9-man teams, and said, "Play basketball." There was no net, and there were only 13 rules, which included no contact, 3 fouls before an ejection, and 2 15-minute halves. But all by coincidence, that first game was played on hard maple floor. There was a flooring wave that was taking over in the 1800s. Maple was plentiful, durable, and stable. Gymnasium owners all over America loved the stuff and wanted to fit it for all of their gymnasts. Naismith found the flooring insignificant anyway, and in his 1892 manual for how to play basketball, he stated that the sport could be played on any ground, even or uneven. It was in 1897, when dribbling the basketball was recognized, that they realized how perfect maple floor was. When I say that it hasn't changed, I'm not entirely correct. The flooring has changed every now and then. Sometimes we get lighter and darker shades. Sometimes we get new graphics on the floor for different NBA teams, and they add a bit of polish to make it glossy and to help with traction on the floor and players' grip. One of the reasons we only see aesthetic changes and not mechanical changes is because of the way that the floor is installed. In the 100 years, the floor has been installed with a certain amount of flex that allows for force absorption, whilst giving a little spring back to the player. The use of 12-inch air-filled rubber allows for padding on the court. The spring is not noticeable, and it results in less wear and tear on athletes' bodies. They call this type of flooring an orthopedic surface, as it reduces the amount of fatigue on your feet, knees, ankles, and back. But here's why it might need to change. As a fan, in the last few years, we've seen an increase in injuries, and this is during a period of time where medicine and technology is at its most advanced. Yet the hardwood is 100 plus years old and has not been changed. Surely there's better technology right now to accommodate for these players' bodies. The hardwood might have been best for players previously who didn't have specialist shoes to protect them from the impact of constant jumping and landing. But shoe technology has changed. They have built-in cushions now to absorb contact. The grip has greatly improved, helping players running up and down the court. Although this has prevented injuries, why has there been a reliance on companies to change how their shoe works and not the NBA to change how the hardwood is constructed? The league is more athletic now than ever, so a reliance on shoe brands to make changes may not be enough. Synthetic flooring might surely have to be introduced. We have seen this in football and the NFL, where they have moved away from natural grass and to different types of astro to accommodate for the changes in weather that make it dangerous for players to play. One problem though, how will the ball bounce? I will admit, a change to the floor could mean a change to the way that players dribble the ball. Flooring with too much force absorption would mean that players have to dribble the ball harder. If the NBA was to make a change like this, there would have to be an adjustment period for all players to adapt. And during that time, basketball will be awful. We could see our best ball handlers like Kyrie and Curry looking like turnover machines. And that would be a terrible look for the best basketball league in the world. However, I've got a solution. To solve this problem, why don't we just try it at lower level? We've seen them trial and implement new rules into the G League or Summer League to test it before bringing it to the NBA. You could take it a bit further, set up a little tournament, invite basketball professionals and tell them to try it out on this new synthetic flooring. In the short term, we might not like the basketball we're seeing, but in the long term, this is a solution to protect the players of the future. I'm pretty sure the NBA have probably spoken many times about a change to making synthetic flooring, but they just can't come to an agreement. But if we continue to see more and more players sitting out and getting injured, we won't be able to be blessed to see the longevity of players like LeBron James in the future. We want to see Luka Doncic play for a long time. We want to see Giannis play for a long time. We want to see Jokic play for a long time. But if they don't start to have conversations about making changes, about things that have been around for 100 years, they are opening themselves up to more and more injuries. Thank you for tuning into this video. Please like if you agree and comment down below with your thoughts. A subscribe will mean the most to me because it will allow me to keep putting out this content for you. So until next time.